Today I'm going to show you a basic wire wrap technique. I'm going to make a necklace. This is a little bit more expensive jewelry making technique than some others that you might try because there is an initial upfront expense for supplies that you will need to get. You will need 3 pairs of pliers, a round nose plier. Don't get something too small or you'll just be frustrated. And if you get something too big, then you won't be happy with the way that the designs look, especially as you start to get better and better at making your wraps. Then you need a pair of needle nose pliers. The pair that I use are half and half, serrated and smooth. I know a lot of people prefer to just use completely smooth pliers, but I find that that gets a little bit slippery and I don't like to have my pliers out of control. As long as you're careful and don't press too hard, using the non-serrated part for more of the crimping work where you're just flattening things, and using the serrated part where you're gripping. And especially if it's something that you're just going to be cutting off of your design, then you can use the half and half. And you'll need a pair of wire cutters. I actually use wire nippers because you'll be cutting into the silver this way, and I can get a lot closer to where I want the cut to be with this kind of a plier, with this kind of a wire cutter, than I can with a straightforward wire cutter. So I really prefer this design in the nipper. The wire cutter that comes on some pliers, don't use that. You won't be able to get in close enough at all and you'll just be frustrated. It's better to just go ahead and buy the additional tool. Then you'll need wire. Wire, I really recommend using a precious metal wire. I use sterling silver or copper. Wire is sold in gauges, and if you're buying it at the most advantageous price, you'll be buying it by the ounce. So this is how an ounce of silver looks. The wire comes in different shapes. You can get half round, and then it's like it's cut in half. You can get it in squares, you can get it in triangles. When you're just starting out, just stick with round wire. It's the easiest and the easiest to find. The gauge number, as the gauge number increases, the thickness of the wire decreases. So this is a 30 gauge wire and it's really fine, and I would use this for doing crocheting. My preference for wire wrapping is 24 gauge. Some people prefer 26 gauge. I find it to be a little flimsy and more difficult to work with, so I like to stick with the 24 gauge when I can. And you know, I don't like to waste a lot of wire, so if I'm going to be working with something more difficult, I'm more likely to make a mistake and have to start over. I also recommend, when you are just starting out, that you work with copper wire. It's very pretty, very shiny. As it ages, it will tarnish and get very dark in color, so be aware of that. It's also a lot softer than the sterling silver wire, so it has that as an added difficulty, but on the other hand, it is a lot less expensive than the sterling silver wire. So when you are just starting out, if you're likely to be making a lot of mistakes and having to start over again and cut apart what you've done, you don't want to be doing that with sterling silver wire. You want to be doing that with something that you didn't spend a tremendous amount of money with until you really are comfortable making the wraps. I would stick with something that you're not going to be heartbroken every time that you have to cut it and start over. The wire is very strong. I was surprised when I first started working with wire at how much abuse it could take, but it can't take just endless amounts of abuse. You can put it into the shape that you want it, but once it's in that shape, you can't undo it. If you have to undo it and start over again, you just have to discard that piece that you've already mangled. But it does take, I mean, it's very sturdy. I mean, you're unlikely with any of the wire wrapping that we're doing, unless you're just working the same piece over and over and over again, you're not likely to break it. So you've got your pliers, your wire, and then you need beads. Beads are sold by the strand, 15 to 16 inches. This is the best way to buy them. I do not recommend buying them any other way. Don't buy one bead at a time. Don't buy a little packet with 5 beads in it. Buy a whole strand. You can go to a bead show. They've started selling these at some craft stores. You can go to a bead store and buy them this way. It's just a lot more economical. You get more beads for your dollar, and I like to work with semi-precious stones and pearls only. And when you're working with natural materials like that, inevitably there are a few beads on the strand that you are not happy with, that you don't like and don't want to use. And if you've only bought 5 and one of them is not to your liking, you'll be really upset that you have either to use, that you are forced to either use this ugly stone in your design or to throw away something that you spent a lot of money on individually. When you buy the whole strand, if there are a few on there that you are not happy with, I just keep a bag of my discards. I haven't figured out what to do with them yet, but you know, eventually I'll be making a design that will just need one of something, and it doesn't have to match the same exact color as the other ones, and there it'll be. And then you need a clasp. You can use a regular lobster claw clasp, or you can use a toggle, or you can use some other kind of fancy closure. That's up to you. It's, you know, they make all different kinds, and they make them in all different metals, so you'll be able to find one that matches whatever kind of metal wire that you are using in your design. And that's everything you need to get started.